Hi, welcome to this episode of Thai Food. On this episode, we're going to make beer cheese sauce. Now, this sauce is pretty versatile, so you can use it for whatever you want. You can make your own beer pretzel bacon cheeseburger like Wendy's does, and put some of this on there. Or I put some on a chili dog, and it was really good. But anyways, to get started, we want to get a 1/4 cup of milk. I got whole milk here that I'm using. I'm going to do 1/4 cup of this. Alrighty. Not a whole lot of milk because we're doing mostly beer. And I'm using a Yingling Golden Pilsner. Honestly, just use whatever beer you prefer to drink. I don't really drink beer. This just happens to be what I got. But I'm going to have a 3/4 of a cup of beer in this. And there we are. We're going to go ahead and get this into our pot here, because we're going to start heating this up. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to this. There we go. And we're going to do our Worcestershire sauce also. But before I do that, I want to use this 1/4 teaspoon for everything else that I'm going to use it for. So I got some white pepper, ground white pepper. I'm going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of this. Going to add some good pepper flavor to it and a little zip from it as well. Not a whole lot really, but a little bit. And about a 1/4 teaspoon of this peppercorn medley that we're going to grind up here. A little bit more. There we are. Quarter teaspoon of fresh peppercorn medley going in. Set the extra off to the side. Get that out of my way, clean this off as I go. I'm going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of some sea salt, or regular salt, whatever you happen to have works. I just happen to always have sea salt on hand. You can see I'm running a little low on this one. 1/4 teaspoon of that. Alrighty. I think that's all the 1/4 teaspoons I needed. Pepper, peppercorn medley, now the Worcestershire sauce. 1/4 teaspoon of the Worcestershire sauce. There we are. I can get rid of that. Alright, now move on to our other ingredients. I'll go ahead and start heating this up on a low. Make that a medium low. Low was a little too low on this. I'm going to use a teaspoon of ground mustard powder. A teaspoon of granulated garlic. And a teaspoon of granulated onion powder. Alrighty. There's those. And then some spicy mustard. Whatever spicy mustard you happen to have. I'm going to do a teaspoon of this as well. Alrighty, and that's it for that. And then, last but not least, we're going to put some freeze-dried chives in here, or just regular dried chives. I got a half tablespoon. If you don't have a half tablespoon, it's a teaspoon and a half of this. There we are. And that's all the seasoning in this. Now for the cheese portion of it. I got 8 ounces of American and 8 ounces of extra sharp. And I went with yellow for this. You could do white cheese if you wanted. I just decided to go with yellow for the color. And we're just going to get this grated so we can get it in here. Starting to heat up nicely, as you can see from the steam coming off of that. I'm going to bump that back to low now. I don't want to scald the milk in there, I just want to heat it up so it'll melt the cheese. I'm going to start adding some of that in. This is probably the slowest part of the whole thing, grating the cheese. Everything else goes pretty quickly usually. The reason I don't use the pre-grated cheese is because if you look at the packaging on that, it always says they add potato starch to it. And of course, potato starch, other than keeping the cheese from sticking together, it thickens. So I don't want this too thick. I'd have to add more liquid, not that that's a bad thing, but you got to try to compensate, and I just prefer to grate the cheese fresh myself rather than try to compensate for something. Bump that up to medium-low again. So I can get the last of this American in there. But there, you could also, you know, obviously have this cheese sauce on chips. Dip your pretzels in it. It's not too bad that way either. Or just, you know, pull it straight out of the fridge while it's cold and spread it on some crackers if you want to do that, like a cheese spread. Because this thickens up pretty good in the refrigerator. Kind of get this incorporated as it melts in. Get the last of it grated up here, and then I can get it in there and we'll have a cohesive cheese sauce, hopefully. No hoping about it, I know we will. Give this a stir. Pick up all the little crumbs I got all over the place here. You always want to make sure you don't go too quick with this, because you can scald the milk and, you know, it'll break real quick on you. And it won't be a nice smooth consistency. So at this point, all we gotta do is just get the cheese melted and get the consistency we want. Pretty much once the cheese melts, it'll smooth right out and be full of flavor. Starting to come together real quick now. Definitely going to be a lot looser at this temperature. Once it cools off, obviously it'll thicken up more. And if you want it thicker at this temperature, just add less liquid. You could opt out the quarter cup of whole milk altogether and just put the beer in there. And it'll be a lot thicker of a sauce. Totally your preference. I wouldn't skimp on the amount of beer you put in there though. Obviously, less beer flavor. Pump this down to low, and still kind of clumpy, so just kind of keep stirring it and let it keep melting together here. I'm just kind of playing with the temperature to get it to where I want it. Right now I'm on the medium setting on this burner, but obviously if you're on a normal stove, you just kind of pick like a medium-low temperature and stick with it. I'm going to bump it down a little again. On this new wave, from low's 100 degrees according to this. If I bump it up to medium-low, it bumps it up 75 degrees. If I bump it up to medium, it bumps it 100 degrees now. So, kind of interesting the way it does that. And I just turned it off now. Now we're getting to where we want to be. Kind of stir it and let it come together here. Take this off the burner onto a hot plate here. Alright, so at this point we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to keep stirring this as it cools off, because obviously I want to let it cool down and finish coming together now. Alright, so it's only been about 4 minutes now, and it's kind of cooled right off and come together beautifully here. So now the portion of the show that's the best part. I get to sample it for y'all. Since you ain't here to try it, I'm going to try it. There we are. Oh yeah, that's good. Beer comes through nicely. Just right amount of salt. That'd be real good on a bacon cheeseburger. Maybe with a fried egg over medium. So when you cut through it, the yolk runs right across it. But there you have it. There's my beer cheese sauce recipe. Hit the little bell icon, please. And that way there, it'll notify you when I upload another video. And don't forget about my Facebook group, Thai Food. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.